In this episode,
you get in that fight or flight, like chasing around with a freaking axe. He probably, dude, he kind of sounded like he was drunk. He looked like he was blown out.
Oh, well, by that time he had been drinking.
Yeah, but wasn't it a fake bar?
The Gold Room. Well, it was ghost filled. You know,
it was ghost filled. Was he pouring his own drinks? I forget.
No, the bartender was.
But there's no bartender.
Lloyd.
But there's no real bartender. So he's like ghost drunk.
Yeah.
Well, that's maybe really drunk. you're
that's beyond.
If you're ghost drunk, then you're wasted. You're done forever. And so, yeah.
Welcome. You're listening to PaleoCheeze Podcast, episode 32, Horror Film Scenarios versus Real Life.
Welcome back, everybody. My name is Jeremiah Bannister.
And I am Chad Lutzke.
And you are listening to episode 32 of PaleoCheeze Podcast, part of the Project Entertainment Network. We've got an awesome show. Today's just kind of a chillax one, Chad.
Yeah, it is. We haven't had a guest on in a while. And part of that, it's like I've got some people I want to ask to be on. And I don't know. I've been in this like introvert mode where it's like I don't want to deal with entertaining. I don't know what that is. I don't know if it's because my mind has been so busy in other stuff. And because I'm a shy guy anyway. So when we do have a guest on, I'm a little, it takes a lot out of me. And that's just the introvert thing, I guess, which I don't know the technical term for the type of introvert I am. Like I love hanging out with people. Mm-hmm. But it's also exhausting. I'm not the type of guy who like, I'd rather be by myself kind of thing. It's like, yes, I do value my alone time, but I really, really like hanging out with friends or just meeting people and getting to know them, hanging out. A weird example, I guess, would be every Christmas, my family comes over and, my brother Casey and his kids and his wife and my sister Cindy and her husband and her kid and my parents and my daughter and my son. And then, of course, Dakota lives here. So we all hang out and my wife, and it's just a house full of people, And then if somebody happens to be having a girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever, like my son, then that's an extra body here. So it's a lot of people. And I am like, when we're opening presents, even if it's just me and my wife and my kids, and I'm opening a present, I'm like, if you see my wife open a present, the whole neighborhood knows how much she likes it. She's just, she's really outgoing. She's got an outgoing personality and she's loud and boisterous. And
that's the word I was having in my head, dude, was boisterous, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. Yes. Yeah.
If you ever want to get great satisfaction by seeing someone open a gift you got them, my wife is the perfect person to receive a gift and open it, and you'll be happy at her response. I am not like that. Even if I love something, I'm just not like that. And so when the whole family is over, I have to kind of try to pretend and be like that. And it's really exhausting. Even though I love everyone here, I love that we're all in the same house and under the same roof. We get to see each other all at the same time. Some of these people I don't get to see for, but once or twice a year. And it just, dude, by the time they're gone, I'm just like, oh, I'm ready for a nap.
Yeah. Dude, I'm ready for a nap before they even leave. I do. Yeah. I actually take naps, dude. Like every single Christmas, man. Every Christmas I go and Thanksgiving, I go to my mother-in-law's house and we're opening gifts and we're having a good time and we're watching TV or, whether it's the Lions losing again or it's the bazillionth rerun of Christmas Story. But no matter, it doesn't matter, dude. We could be doing anything in the world. And at some point, I'm going to get tired and I'm just going to want to go in the other room and take a quick napsky wapsky. And that's what I do all the time. And I totally feel you, man, on not knowing what kind of introvert you are, because I can run a room, right? Like I can be around tons of people.
Yeah.
And I'm really good at it, dude. When I go and there's a gathering, people, it's easy for me to leave my mark there. Like people know I've been there, right? Mm-hmm. I've talked to them, had a good time, took time to shake their hand or whatever. But the thing is, dude, is like it actually takes a lot for me to do that. And I get really exhausted by the end, dude. I'll have Angela drive home because I'm so tired. I'll get home and I just want to just go to bed. I don't even want to stay awake anymore. And it's weird because I can imagine somebody thinking that that's almost like a sign that you didn't have a good time. You know, like, oh, well, you get there, either that or you partied so hard that you needed to go to bed. you know, and it's like, no, I hung out with friends and stuff, but I have to, in order to do that. And I used to get anxiety attacks, dude, being around people, like in public spaces. If I sit in certain places in a room, where my back, there's a lot of people behind me, that kind of weirds me out, man. So, you know, I have some weird, quirky crap with me. And so I like to be alone too. And actually I like to be alone. Well, I like to be where there's no other physical person around, but I find myself sometimes that's when I'm online or connecting with people digitally or whatever is when I'm alone. So I'm technically I don't want to be alone. I still want to talk to people.
Yeah.
But not physically.
Yeah. Yeah. If I know I'm having alone time in the house, sometimes I get really excited, and I don't know. It's nice, but then I start to miss my wife or my kids or something, but yeah. So I haven't pursued guests. It's just it seems exhausting just to prepare and to ask, and I don't know why, because for a while there I was just like, we asked a whole bunch of people, and we had some great guests. And I think part of it too has to do with, I just got done doing this like little virtual book tour with my buddy Tim Meyer for the book that we put out late last year, Wormwood. And we hit a bunch of podcasts and blogs and stuff like that. And, most of it is the same questions being asking about the collaborative process and where the idea came from and how did it start and all this kind of stuff. And so I guess fresh on the heels of that, it's like, do I want to ask a writer who, it's like to do another one of these type of things, We
never do that though.
Huh?
We never do that.
What?
We don't ask them the same kind of questions that
you're right. I know we don't. I mean, they're
on purpose because of that. I mean,
because of that. We want to give we want to give them something different and have fun, and we want to give our listeners something different other than, how'd you get started in horror and, things like that. But so it is different. But maybe it's just I think it's a combination of that and just being in that mode of like, podcast, and don't get me wrong, I do love doing podcasts, and there are some that I really enjoy doing. I have a hard time talking about myself, just because if this was the first or second or fourth time I was talking about myself, it might not be that bad, but it's not even close to that. So it's like, it sounds really, it's just tiring. It's like, do you really want to know? I think on the last podcast I was on, they asked me to introduce myself, and I just said, I'm Chad. I wrote some books. They're published. Thanks for having me.
That's it.
Yeah.
We're calling it, man. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's get to talking.
You're in the wrong business though, dude. And well, here's the thing. If you don't want a bunch of people interviewing you and asking the same questions, you're in the wrong business for being so good at what you do. Because people are going to be like having you on, and they're going to be like, dude, bro, we love your stuff. But most people, I mean, let's be frank, dude, a lot of people, they don't really think outside that box too much. And in fairness, not to be rude to anybody, but to say let's silver lining stuff with that, to say that sometimes it's simply because their audience just might not know. And so their audience might not know.
And that's true.
And stuff.
Yeah, and I don't like, with the exception of me being asked to talk about myself without answering a question. That's where I dial it in. But everything else, I understand that. Like there are people who are listening that maybe they've never heard me on something, they've never heard of me. So yeah, it's not like I dial in all my answers, just the, tell us a little bit about yourself. That one I usually do dial in because, I don't like to sell myself like that, but answering questions, yes. And if anyone's listening that has a podcast that has thought about having me on, reach out. I don't hate them. I just, I do get a little bit more excited when the conversation gears away from, something that's atypical, whether it be, let's talk music, let's talk movies, let's talk about what you thought of this or your opinion on this, but yeah, when you're talking about the genesis of something over and over and over again,
it can get exhausting, dude.
Yeah. And it does feel like, you start to feel a little bit, self-conscious, like I've done this 28 times this year. And because you've heard yourself and you've heard this so many times, it starts to feel a little like you really are inflating yourself here, talking again about, but they're asking. So, anyway,
it's funny, dude, because there was it was a movie years ago. And this is before, I don't know if it was before the internet, but it's kind of early on, early days, maybe of YouTube or something like that. But a movie called Shadowlands. And Shadowlands.
Well, D. Snyder. No, I'm thinking of Strangeland.
It's definitely not that. Okay. No, this one's got Anthony Hopkins in it playing the part of C.S. Lewis. And in that, it's about how he met his wife and how she died. In fact, it's a powerful movie, true story. But throughout it, I thought it was kind of a cheap thing because they would show him many different places doing this speech, and I thought I don't know if it was the problem of pain. I think it may have been from the problem of pain that he was talking about and stuff. And I bet you 4 or 5 times, man, it shows him saying kind of the same exact thing everywhere he's going. And I thought, like, that's, he wrote so much, like he said so much, like, why not? It's a movie, dude. Just, do it. But I've learned, though, once I started watching like speeches at universities and stuff and debates at universities on YouTube. When I would do that, I started noticing, man, that it's kind of the same speech all over the place. Like that person might go on a speaking tour and he's literally doing the exact same speech at all these different places. And I thought YouTube is killing that. Like that may have worked in the past, but now, like I would be bummed if I went to go pay money to go to a big fancy speech with somebody and I saw that guy on there and he'd had, 20, 30 different high profile videos of him speaking at different places. And it was the same thing. Mm-hmm. I'd be ticked off about it, And so, but I started to realize that is something, what we're talking about is actually like way old. Where somebody who's a figure of interest, for whatever reason and to whatever degree, you're a figure of interest, that you're going to field a lot of the same stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but I think that also helps shows like ours, dude, because we straight up stand apart. Like we don't want that because we don't want that for ourselves. So we're like, we don't want to have that, for other people, because that actually bothers us on a personal level, and on a professional level. And so we try to exhibit that toward other people.
And maybe it has something to do with too, like, there are authors and musicians who I admire that I seek out interviews, whether it be on YouTube or just articles. An example would be today, some magazine or something, for some reason, tagged me on Twitter and said, Chad, here's a Joe Lansdale interview I just did. I thought you might be interested. And I'm like, freaking Joe talked about me in this interview. He didn't. But that's the first thing I thought of, because I'm like, why would I? Of course, I'd be interested, but I don't know this website magazine or whatever. So,
it still is kind of dope though, because it shows they were thinking of you.
Yeah, and I read the interview, and it was, Joe gives great writing advice, of course, and it was a nice interview. But there was nothing that I hadn't learned because of the fact that I have sought out Joe
Yeah, right,
and talked with him about this kind of stuff, and Facebook friends with him, and seen all of the advice that he gives, and read his books and interviews and all that stuff, and that watched the documentary that
you're in part of it.
Yeah,
that I'm bonus features. Yeah, you're in it. Yeah.
And so there's nothing new. I've heard, and I've the video interviews that I've seen over the years, he says the same thing, and it's no fault of his. He's just giving the same great advice. But
it can get tiring, dude. And I think in general, and I know this is really terrible to say, but I feel like that's kind of how I feel about a lot of things in life in general.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that there's so much about life that is kind of like, well, another day, another dollar, kind of thing, where, and I'm not dogging work. I'm saying that those proverbial things, right?
Yeah.
That, the early bird gets the worm. Like, there's these things that are very true, very valuable, but they come from the fact that we are creatures of repetition. And that's true. Like, we're not nearly as snowflakey as we think when it comes. We're not nearly as original as we think, right? And so some people are way more snowflakey than they think, but not original. And so there's certain things about most people that is similar, especially in certain cultures where you just, similar questions when you first meet and things like that. And it gets frustrating. That's why I try to balance it out so that I'm around people, but I'm also at home. I mean, as you can see right now, I'm not having any guests over right now. I've cleaned up, my maids have cleaned up behind me, but I want to be alone.
Don't lie. You're over at Jeremy Wagner's house.
Yeah, I'm over at Wagner's house, dude. We were just checking out his Frankenstein stuff, dude, and all of his Jaws stuff. And now I'm just, he's letting me just chill by the piano. No, man. Yeah.
If speaking of Jeremy, I just I had his Chicago address, because I've sent him stuff before. No. I didn't have his, but he spends the winters in Miami, so I didn't have it, and I know he's there. Yeah. I don't have his Miami address, so I asked for it today because I wanted to send him something. I bought him a gift because he had bought me one, and I was super grateful and told him, but it was such a kind of a sweet thought that I was like, I eventually have to, reciprocate in some way.
Tit for tat, bro.
Yeah, for sure. And because he had sent me, he'd sent me a shirt of his band, a vinyl of his band, and a couple books.
Dang, son. Yeah.
But then he sent me some Stan Getz Bossa Nova stuff on vinyl, which was my favorite Bossa Nova album.
Didn't he bring that up on the show about Bossa Nova? Or who brought it up? I thought somebody else. I
brought it up. Yeah. He said that he loved. Yeah, and he was listening, and he ordered the album from Amazon and had it sent to me, and I just thought that was the freaking. Actually, no, he ordered it at Amazon, had it shipped to him, and put it in the package of stuff, and I just thought that is the freaking sweetest thing. So hopefully it'll be there by the time, But yeah, so I got him a record.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. And hopefully he doesn't have it.
We got to have some people back on. I think it's been long enough, almost.
Yeah.
He's one of those, dude. I mean, he was an early bird for this, talking about, we used the Phantasm episode. And to be fair, right, because I know he'd probably be really insistent that I clarify this. This is not his house. This is the house that belongs to the groundskeeper of his house.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I'm in the groundskeeper's house. I'm the Kato Kalin, dude.
His groundskeeper's Elton John.
Yeah. Oh man. So you wanted to talk about something tonight, right?
Yeah.
You actually weeded through a lot of stuff, dude. You say you're not in the doghouse, but you might be an itsy bit, dude. Your wife is a generous person. It was supposed to be her episode, man.
Yeah, she was supposed to pick the Mary topic.
Edition, man.
She was all about picking the topic, and I turned down about nearly a dozen topics that she threw my way, and decided to pick it myself, only because, and she had some great.
What can topics. You say any of them? What were some of the topics, dude, that you wanted to talk about?
The first one I remember was, gosh, then this might just turn into the whole episode. Who knows? The first one I remember is she said, or the first one she gave me was that domesticating animals,
Yeah, yeah.
And then she said, why? And I said, well, for one, I'm a hypocrite and have been for years because I don't agree with it. And I've done it my whole life.
Oh, dude,
We have a parakeet in a cage. I don't agree with it.
You have a dog, man.
But I have it. There he sits.
Yeah, you got dogs.
I think of dogs different. Dogs really like the companionship. I mean, we're talking about taking something that clearly would be happier without you. Dogs, I don't know about that. Yeah. They really get off on human companionship and the love that they receive. You know, if you're a good pet owner, that dog loves you and wants to be around you.
But you owned buffalo before.
Yeah,
you owned bison. You owned
Teddy,
bison.
Good old Teddy.
Yeah, Teddy the dog. That's
No, but just a goldfish in a bowl, a tiny bird in a tiny cage.
Oh man,
I don't agree with it.
I don't think they even know what it means to be alone, bro. Do they? Do they know? Do they sit there and say,
think of this?
Dang, son, I just wish I wasn't around this guy that feeds me.
How many people, if you ask them what superpower they would want to have, how many people, probably the vast majority of them would say the ability to fly, right? So you're taking this creature that has that ability and you're taking it from them.
But that does not have a human brain. And that would be my only difference is I would say you are correct on that part. Like if it had a human brain and was stuck inside an animal body and it dreamed to fly, but then and birds, that's a good point, dude. I haven't really thought about it. So I'm not going to say one way or another.
So you're basically saying what they don't know they're missing. Is that what you're saying? Like
that's why we can eat plants and not worry about it. They don't know. And that's the extreme, right?
No,
the extreme of doesn't have the knowledge of it.
Like if you give a kid a cell phone at the age of 6 and then you take it away from them at the age of 8 versus the kid who is 10 and still has never used a cell phone. They don't care. But the 8-year-old who gets his phone taken away for the next couple of years, he's really going to care.
Yeah.
Whereas the 10-year-old doesn't know what he's missing and he's completely content without the internet in his hand. Is that what you're saying? That the bird doesn't know what it could have?
Yeah, I'm saying some animals, dude, their memory is actually extremely short, and their ability to even know, like a lot of animals, for example, a lot of animals don't even know, they can't look in a mirror and know that that's them, right? Some animals can.
Yeah.
And those animals have a sense of awareness, not only of the world around them, but even of themselves. So take orcas. It would be a really terrible thing to have an orca as a pet. Like I'm opposed to that. I don't like SeaWorld stuff, right? But they also have their own dialects. Their kids stay with them they stay in these herds for like way long. Same thing with certain animals, like certain elephants. Dude, elephants can smoke. Like they can go to fires and pick up ambers and put it in their mouth and inhale and then remove it and all of it comes out. I mean, when I brought up the
is that why they're like half-lidded, tired all the time, like they're stoners?
Yeah, they're blowing out.
They got the heavy eyes.
Oh, yeah, dude. Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're like super blown. And so, but yeah, them, chimps, bonobos, any of the great apes, stuff like that. And so I would say that it kind of depends a little bit on what kind of animal or creature you're talking about. And also size and scale, right? So relative to size and scale. So for example, if you have certain animals, you really should have a yard. You shouldn't have a horse as a pet in your home if you live in the city. Like that's just not the place for the horse. Okay. I'm sorry, little girl who wants one for her birthday. You're not getting one. Okay. Because it's too small of a home. And there's no backyard. But, so it kind of depends on size of the brain, size and scale of where they are. And if they do wish to have companions, because if we didn't domesticate dogs, dude, they'd be companions with each other. So like they do want companionship, but a lot of them, they go around in packs and stuff, dude. So, these wild dogs and everything. And so they would have that if we didn't have them. And the way that we got them, you got to remember, the way we got them buggers in the beginning, was straight up stealing them. Like we would go and take the babies and stuff from the adults. Is it gelato baboons? Baboons do that. I've actually watched a video on how baboons domesticate dogs, how they will go and they will kidnap puppies, and the dog parents they're freaking out, but then those dogs will be raised with those groups of baboons, and even the little kid will pet the dog and lay on the dog as the dog walks around, and the dog will stand watch, with them.
What would the benefit for the baboon family have in owning a dog?
Companionship and protection. It's literally the same. I mean, it's the same basic ideas as us, that it's a very animalistic thing that we have, that we want to be friends with that thing and pet it. We're not drinking tea and talking about civilization with the dog. Maybe we are. I've had some weird conversations, not gonna lie. But, the thing is, though, is that dog would have had companions if we didn't take it in the first place.
Yeah.
And so, but because they've already been taken, and because they're being sold, or given away, or you better hurry and get them or they're going to be euthanized kind of thing, that it's a different ball of wax. Someone can say, well, I don't believe in that. And you say, well, then look over at little Fido over there and cute little puppy eyes, because they're about to straight up kill that dog. And you're like, what? And so, and I don't know. So that's what
again, I'm not even in referring to dogs and cats. Just because
you brought up a good point with the birds. That's I hadn't even thought about that, bro.
And fish. They're just. I think mainly just for me anyway, birds and fish, they have this cool ability to just be free and just race around as much as they want. And we contain it, to something really small. And so, especially like those male bettas, they sell them in a cup.
Yeah.
And people take it home and they put them in a little tiny glass thing for bragging rights. And, that's just screwed up, man. I don't know.
Well, you can give them some friends, dude. Just put another betta right in there.
You mean next to
it? Yeah. Just put them in together. See how it goes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they'll start playing right away.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they're gonna play all right. You're gonna have some skeletons down at the bottom of that thing.
But the main reason why I denied my wife's awesome suggestions because I wanted to, the genesis of our podcast is surrounded by horror. Our audience is primarily horror fans. Mm-hmm. And so I never want to stray too far from that. I would assume that people enjoy the conversations that we have, like on writing or maybe they like the conversation. Movies. Yeah, maybe they even like some of the conversation we have about food. I don't know.
I hope so, man. I like the conversations about food.
Yeah. I like it too. But so I wanted to kind of reflect a little bit about some movies that we've seen, but using something that I call legitimate course of action versus what actually happened. So basically, and not necessarily a course of action as much as like a course of action and or the legitimacy of a scene. So I've got some examples, and hopefully they will, be the catalyst for some humorous conversation and some opinions. One of them is The Shining, with little Danny Torrance.
Seen that movie, dude. We didn't watch The Shining.
You've seen The Shining? Yeah, I know.
But we haven't. You're like, okay, so movies that we've seen. I like thinking I've seen the show, man. Yeah, okay.
These are movies that we've seen.
Okay, yeah.
In most of them are ones that we have done on the show.
Okay.
Or, yeah. So, little Danny Torrance. I don't, in the movie, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen the Kubrick masterpiece, he does all this. He's very cool and collective. The entire film, even when he's looking at the dead twins in the hall. You know, he covers his face and so, but that's pretty much it.
Mhm.
You know, he does get cathartic for a second there when he's attacked by the off-screen woman in room 237. But he's intelligent. He hides in a cabinet to get away from his dad quietly somehow, in the pans and stuff. I kind of had a hard time with that. I mean, this is a movie. Anything can happen. Real life is stranger than fiction oftentimes anyway.
Yeah.
Not to say somebody can't be quiet, and then he gets out and his dad is chasing him with the axe. He's not chasing him and saying, I'm going to kill you. He's just like, basically,
doesn't matter. You're chasing him with a freaking axe, man.
Yeah. And then Danny backtracks on the snow to get his footprints, you know, and he's quiet and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I just don't know, man.
I don't believe that.
What's your opinion on that? I mean, I think Danny would have died. Another reason why I think he would have died is because this is his dad, and kids, and I don't want to get too dark with this, but kids, they have allowed their parents to do some heinous things to them, not really understanding what's happening.
Dude, you're going down that real dark road of that. What's the name of it? What's the name of that one guy? You said you didn't agree with the dude, but it sounds like you're starting to think that, you know, there was some hanky-panky between.
No. That's not what I'm saying. Yeah. Okay. No, the video on YouTube. No.
Okay.
That's not.
Because I'm like, where are you going with this, Chad? Like, you're like, I don't want to get too dark, and I'm like, dude, that's about as dark as you can get.
I'm saying when that goes down in a household, abuse, there is a relationship oftentimes that is established between a parent and their child of trust.
Yeah.
Okay. And then that trust is broken, but it's a confusing process.
You did it. You said it, dude. We need to have
bad timing. To say the word process.
Yeah, man. You know, we got to have something kind of like You Can't Do That on Television, that old show on TV, Nickelodeon or whatever, where if they said what, what do they say? If they said water would come down. And I think, I don't know, or I don't know what it was, but stuff would come down and get all over them. The slime would, so slime and water. We need to have something like that, dude, that, you know, I don't care if it's glitter or styrofoam, but if you ever, you know, one of us accidentally says process, we're just going to have to be able.
If one of us says process and neither one of us laughs or smirks, then someone should catch the timestamp, email us, and I'll send you a free book, because that's probably never going to happen.
Never, dude. Never.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So the process, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is, So I can't believe that we're starting cracking up in this really dark topic.
Yeah. It's real dark.
Yeah. So I wonder, would Danny still be in that kind of confused mode? Because that, even though the trust is being broken, doesn't necessarily happen overnight, because there's so much confusion that this is my dad. But then again, his dad did hurt him when he was drunk once.
Yeah.
And that's why he quit drinking.
But it's also something that he remembers being hurt. So he knows his dad can.
But he maybe he just said, well, that's the old version of my dad. That's my dad was drunk, and maybe he believed that was a really good excuse, and that's never going to happen. And maybe he was really apologetic, and there was forgiveness, you know. And then,
might be forgiveness, but dude, you know, it's one of those things, man. We can forgive, but dude, as humans, man, we ain't forgetting it. Like you'll always be able to remember that, even if it's in the fight or flight moment, right? Because you may have experienced that emotion because you were thrown into a world of fight and flight because dad is whacking you around and he's drunk. So you now know a couple things. Like, you know that drunk is bad, but you also know dad has been drunk, so dad has been bad. And dad has not only been drunk and bad, but dad did something else that was bad that makes it doubly bad. So there's a lot of things that are going to be cued, and it may be able to be kind of suppressed and hidden down and stuff like that. But dude, you get in that fight or flight, like chasing around with a freaking axe. He probably, he kind of sounded like he was drunk. He looked like he was blown out.
Yeah.
You know, and so
by that time he had been drinking.
Yeah, he had been.
Or at least
Well,
it was
had he been? Was
ghost
he?
alcohol. Yeah, he went into the
Yeah, but wasn't it a fake bar?
the gold room. Well, it was ghost filled. You
It was
know,
ghost filled. Was he pouring his own drinks? I forget.
no, the
forgive me for
bartender
that.
was
But there's no bartender.
Lloyd.
But there's no real bartender, so he's like ghost drunk.
Yeah.
Well, that's maybe really drunk. you're
That's beyond.
If you're ghost drunk, then you're wasted. You're done forever. And so, yeah. So yeah, he's wasted. He sounds wasted. He's acting wasted. And this time he has a freaking axe, dude.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
even just days earlier, he held Danny and he said, I'd never hurt you and that I love you.
Yeah. Do you think Danny believed him when he said it?
I
kind of felt like when that happened.
Danny had The Shining, but it was more about the hotel than it was his dad.
Yeah.
And how the hotel's a bad place. Not necessarily that his dad was a bad person.
It was kind of an awkward scene, though, wasn't it? Like the affection was, I guess Nicholas.
It was robotic.
It's robotic and it's creepy. Like it'd be hard. Maybe I just haven't seen enough of Jack Nicholson's movies, but
Jack Nicholson.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to take that out.
I
was thinking that in my head right before you said, I'm like, Jack Nicholson. I'm like, that's the golfer.
You're forgiven. You played a lot of golf when you were.
I do, and I've been talking about Tiger Woods because it's a sad thing about him. Yeah. So Jack Nicholson, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Jack Nicholson, I maybe have not seen enough of his films, to really see if, when, and to what extent he's ever been able to really effectively perform just a very gentle, loving thing. Because even his face, dude.
Yeah.
He's like, you can't get around his face, you know?
Yeah.
And so I don't know. But I mean, if you're a kid, you see past that, it's love is blind kind of thing. And you'd have to be blind as a bat, maybe. But I mean, you're the son. So
people complain, including Stephen King, that and I have an opinion that a lot of these people complained because secondary to Stephen King's complaint. Like, I don't know that they would have come up with this on their own if they'd not heard Stephen King say it first, but that Jack Nicholson was batshit crazy from the get-go, rather than it building. And I don't really think he was. It's just his face and his eyebrows. I mean, right at the beginning of the movie, when they're driving in the car, he looks out of his mind crazy, but he's not. And when he's having that job interview, he's being interviewed, he looks like he's somebody you should probably not trust. But it's just plus he just got done with the One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Yeah.
So you've got this kind of stigma attached to the crazy role that he just played. And so it's kind of like this perfect storm for having that type of complaint that, But I think ultimately, I think Danny would have died. Glad he didn't. But
in real life,
I think he would have died.
Oh, totally.
So that's the first one, and thankfully that did turn.
See, it kind of reminds me, dude. Like, I don't know if you're going to bring this one up, man, but what about Halloween, man? What about Halloween? Well, stabbing old boy, and then standing there and just having conversations like it ain't no thing, and not even just running, like, or dropping the freaking knife.
Oh, at the beginning, Michael?
No, at the end. I'm saying the end when he goes in and he's sitting there, going after old girl, man, babysitting, and she's running around in the house.
Yeah.
What goes ahead and stabs him or jabs him or whatever, and he's laying on the ground behind the couch, and she's like,
she does that a couple times.
Yeah, like 2 or 3
but
times.
That could be said. We could be here for days. That could be said for all kinds.
Yeah, but that's what made me think, man, was like in real life. That's a scenario where in real life, not even close. In real life, some dude looking like that, carrying a dagger around, trying to kill you when you're babysitting and junk. You ain't sticking around, dude. You're booking. You're out. Yeah. No way.
You've been, here's another one. You've been stung by a bee, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Have you ever been stung by several dozen or several hundred bees at the same time?
No. I've been stung, I think, like three at a time.
I was doing rocks. When you get stung by one bee, your movements are sporadic, powerful.
Oh yeah, dude.
It's kicking in, the fight or flight. It's kicking in, and you're doing everything you can to address that pain, right?
Yeah.
And get away from whatever it is that just happened.
Yes.
So what do you think that would have really happened if you're trapped in a bathroom stall with a beehive? That's only being held by a broom.
I thought of this right away. I wouldn't have even been pushing at the door.
Go underneath.
You got to tell people. Yeah, exactly. You got to tell people which movie we're talking about.
Sleepaway Camp.
Yeah, Sleepaway Camp. So in Sleepaway Camp, yeah, he's sitting there putting the bee in, and he's using the bathroom, and it's kind of crazy because that's a lot of freaking bees. I mean, that really is. That's like almost supernatural to me. That scene. Because all the rest of them were like things that could have happened without any kind of supernaturally thing going on.
Yeah.
Whereas this one was like, whoa,
how'd you get that beehive without being stung a million times?
And how did he have it all over his face?
Yeah.
I mean, covered all the way in like weird welts and stuff. I mean, it's just crazy. So, but my first thought was the idea that I would have been on the other side of that stall, shaking the stall. Hey, come on, let me out. Like, dude, crawl under that and book it, man. You ain't sticking around.
No. Getting out of a bathroom stall would be one of the easiest places ever to get out of.
Yeah.
And now at the very end, when he falls, the broom does break. Yep. But dude, you wouldn't pussyfoot around.
No.
The first time you hit that door, it's going down. Even if the whole section of the stalls goes with it, it's going down.
Yeah.
Because you're kicking into high gear immediately.
Oh, dude, totally. Even involuntarily. Just the mere fact that you're being stung, dude, and if it was that bad, like it was with the death scene of that, that might.
You'd have to be trapped in like a school.
Right through that freaking door, dude.
You'd have to be trapped in like a school locker or something.
That. That's a good point, man. But that's a great one to bring up. But that is one that when I saw it, I was like, nah, give me a break. Like that's and my first thought was that it was a little Dr. Phibes-esque, you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Now here's one that I thought, and I brought this up before, but this is one I thought was 100% authentic in its reaction, but it's also one that I don't think that people are really aware that it is as authentic as I believe it to be. And that is Hereditary, when the brother accidentally kills his sister, doesn't look at her, won't look at her, drives home and goes to bed. Well, lays in bed. I think particularly the fact that he refuses to acknowledge it and won't look or anything. I mean, he tries to, but that when I was watching the movie for the first time, that scene was probably the one that bothered me most. Not the beheading, because I've seen a million of those. And yes, it was a shocker. But what bothered me most was you've got a kid reacting that in a way that you wouldn't normally think would happen in a movie. If it were written by any other person, he'd have been screaming, hooting, and hollering, and whatever.
Maybe even running back to go get it. Like something, anything. But zero. Yeah, exactly.
He knew.
Yeah,
it was over, and couldn't cope, couldn't deal, and did everything he could. And I think that is, that really creeped me out, because I thought, man, this is the most authentic response to trauma, one of the most authentic responses to trauma that I've ever seen, followed by the breakdown of the mom, which was another super authentic traumatic
and the fact
reaction.
That he didn't sleep, did he?
He just laid there.
Just laying there, and you see the time go, but with the light coming up, right? And then you hear the noises in the back, and it doesn't show it. You're just hearing it, and you can tell that she's going to go outside, and she gets out there, and then obviously sees it. Still doesn't show it. Okay, and then all of a sudden you hear the screaming, and you see him just laying in that bed. I mean, that was a very jarring sequence of events. Like just in general, it was a jarring thing, and jolting, in fact, to see that and be like, oh my gosh. And I was expecting him to turn around. I was, and in part, and I don't know if I said anything about it. Maybe people can go back and be like, "You're saying something different now," but I've thought about it. I've thought about it more since when I first saw it, right? And I've actually seen it again since I first saw it. But I think you're right though that it really is more about what we expect based on what Hollywood has provided to us.
Yeah.
Than it is on what is the actual thing that would happen. And there is a difference. A lot of times, and there are people who would look.
Sure.
And
there are, that would
be shocked
that would
and look.
Yeah. And then they would race home and say, oh my gosh, this happened or whatever. Yeah, for sure.
But I think that this is a real one too.
Yeah.
I think this is a way that there are many people who not even a few. I think there are many who in that situation where everything's going down the way it was, and it's obvious, man, that she's toast. She's not alive anymore. It's obvious that you're not looking back. You don't want to look. Well, no, you probably do. You want to. You're divided. You want to look because skin and tragedy, man. Like, and it's your sister, and it's your fault, and maybe it's not as bad. Like, you're gonna have that part of your brain trying to maybe tell you maybe she just got knocked out and her, she's like in a concussion, a concussion or a coma, and you, so that part of you's just going off, man. But that other part of you is simply saying, dude, she is dead. You are high. You are the older brother. She ate something she should have never eaten. You were not paying attention. You did not make right decisions. And now you're on your way home and it's your fault. And then the parents, just knowing, dude, all the cascade of thoughts, dude, going through that brain. I could easily imagine going home, opening the door, walking in, and even laying in the bed like that or sitting on a couch, even if only for fear of having to say it on it.
Yeah. And that's why I brought it up, because not only I thought it was an authentic reaction, but because a lot of people, I think, don't think it was. They're like, what's up with that dude? Why wouldn't he? And I'm like, that's legitimate, man. That's
I killed her. She's in the back of the car. Her head's
there's too many scenes in TV and movies and stuff where, whether it's a crime drama or a horror film, where the person walks in, removes the sheet, knowing there's a corpse under there. And I'm just like, not everybody has the ability to do that. And I'm one of those people. And without getting too dark, an example that I can draw from where I know that I'm that type of person, to not just, run into and look at something. Do you know what I mean? Like with the person has to go identify a body or and I'm not talking about like detectives. I'm talking about someone who isn't used to this kind of thing, and they just yank back the sheet. I'm more of I need to slowly prepare myself with this and not have this instant 1 second shock of seeing it. I need to wean my way into it. And an example of that, of me doing that in real life, is I worked for 2 years at some AFC homes for the mentally ill adults, adult foster care. I worked third shift, and I took care of people, did bed checks and stuff mainly. They were usually in bed. Sometimes they would get out of bed and cause some trouble. And then, of course, I'd have to deal with them in the morning, start breakfast and things like that, pass out meds. But there was this house that I was working at, and it was an all-male house with the exception of one woman that lived there. And there was an older guy who lived there that was probably in his late 70s. And he would, when he was out of bed and walking around, he would always have to have a helmet on, like a bike helmet, in case he fell or something. And this dude was tall. He was at least 6 foot tall. And, he probably weighed 200 pounds. And he was probably taller than that, because I remember I used to have to shower him too. And so he was definitely, much taller than I am. And he got out of bed one night in the middle of the night, and he decided he was going to go get something on his own to eat. And you can't do that because of meds and stuff like that, and they have a routine that's important. So I always worked by myself, with the exception of the last hour of my shift when someone would come in to relieve me. And then I'd look over the paperwork that I had to do or any kind of reports to the night or whatever and share with them what happened the night before. So this guy's in the kitchen and he's going through stuff. And this is typical of this guy. I don't want to give his name, but I could hear him. And so I went in there and I was like, hey, you can't be doing this, that. So let's get to bed. And he starts yelling at me and then he takes a swing and he slapped me across the face. And this is just, it's no real threat, but this happens, and sometimes we've even had to restrain people, which is super sad to have to do something like that, but they're trying to hurt you. They're trying to hurt themselves. Yeah. So, I told him, you can't do this. You got to get in bed. Now, come on. So he's following me and I got to hold him because he doesn't have his helmet on and he's not stable. He's kind of shuffling. And then at one point, I can't remember exactly what I had to do, but I had to let go of him and go grab something. I don't remember if it was simply shutting off the light or doing something. I can't remember what it was. But so I rested him against this small portion of the wall, like the edge of the wall there on the other side of the wall. And so he's resting there and he's kind of leaning back and then his body decides to shift. And then at this time, he's also yelling every obscenity you can think of at me, really loud. And then out of the corner of my eye, I see him disappear behind the wall. And his feet go up, and then I hear a loud pound, and then he's done swearing. He's done yelling. He's done talking. And I'm like, this dude just freaking died. He just hit his head so hard because it's so loud.
Did he die?
So I'm like, I was afraid to look. I didn't just stand there. I was just like, but my first reaction was not to immediately run.
Right.
Because I was scared to death of what I was going to see.
Yeah.
Because it was so loud. And I thought, I don't know what just happened, but on the other side of this wall is something that's potentially going to horrify me because he went from, screaming and yelling to complete silence.
Wow.
And so I start to walk over there and I see his feet and he's not moving. And then I look and blood just like a movie, just pooling, like spreading at a rapid speed. Like I didn't know could happen. I thought that was like movie stuff. And it's just pouring and it's surrounding him. So I'm by myself. I hurry up and I call I think I called my supervisor and I told him what happened. And then I called the ambulance. Or no, I think I called the ambulance and then I called my supervisor is what happened. I called 911. I told him, gave him the address, told him what happened. Hurry up, get here. He's bleeding out. And I called my supervisor, said what was going on. He comes into work. The ambulance gets there. By this time, the dude's like moaning and stuff. And the ambulance is taking care of him and, like trying to patch up his head and stuff, which has a huge gouge out of it. It looked like someone took one of those melon scoops and just did like that into his head.
Oh, dude.
And then while they were taking care of him, I had to mop up this ungodly amount of blood with a mop. And then, clean down the floor and stuff. And then while my supervisor stayed with the residents, I had to go drive to the hospital while they took him in the ambulance. And actually, they didn't take him in the ambulance. They wanted me to drive him to the hospital because he was coherent now.
Yeah, okay. That's weird though. Still, yeah.
I think it might
by
have
nowadays standard. I don't know about that.
I think it might have had something to do with insurance and stuff like that.
Okay.
So I took him to the hospital. And then, spent, hours in the ER while he got stuff. But that story, and there's a lot of crazy stories I got from working at that place. But that story is a good example of me personally, and I know I'm not alone, of not being able to handle trauma in the way that so many people do in a film.
Exactly. Yeah.
Where they're just like ready and they're prepared and they're looking, and it wasn't like that. Again, I want to reiterate that I didn't let time lapse or anything. I mean, the guy would have died for sure. I jumped in there and I knew what had to be done. And I did grab, towels and, start to stop the bleeding and things like that. I didn't stand there like a pussy and like, oh, I can't touch this. But I did not run like you would see someone in a movie because I knew what I might see. And it scared the hell out of me. So,
dude, that is mind blowing, bro. And I didn't know. I mean, for one, I did not even know that you did a job like that. See, I'm learning all these crazy things about you, dude. I am, man. I'm learning, and so it's kind of an awesome thing, man, hearing some of these stories, because I didn't know that that's one of the things that you had done in your life, and that it makes more sense now to me. Because I think I may have actually, when I first watched the film, I may have thought that was weird that he didn't look. And it was upon reflection and upon even hearing, because there was that conversation that came out of that. My initial thought, dude, I didn't like the movie. I remember I told you that. I'm like, I don't remember that. And then I went and I watched a bunch of videos about it. That were really great, by the way. I mean, and again, I forget that guy's name, dude. I feel really badly because maybe we can put his name on the bottom of the screen, because we mentioned him, about the idea that Jack Nicholson was an abusive dad.
Oh, yeah.
That same guy, he did a bunch of really great videos and stuff on Hereditary. And it really gave me a better appreciation for it, as well as the conversation that we had on the show. But even that one part, I was like, I don't remember, but I can imagine being like, well, would you look? Would you just stand there? Like, would you go home? But to hear that, like, I can imagine that. And as you were describing, and for one, my mouth was like dropped down. I'm like, what the heck, dude? Because I know I can easily imagine being in that situation. In fact, when you said it, my first thought, when the idea of the feet flying up in the air and the sound just boom, no more talking, you go from crazy to nothing, and it's on the other side of a wall. It's a mystery, dude. It's on the other side. My first thought when you said that was, I wouldn't go over there. Not right away. I would be frozen. I would be scared. And I'd be traumatized. I'd be scared by the mystery of what I don't know, or what I assume to be the case, but haven't yet confirmed. But I am suspicious to the point of kind of taking it as a given. Yeah. And so,
but at the same time, you gotta, nobody else is there to handle it. So you gotta run in there and find out what is going on. But it was, I got a couple more, but I'll just give one more here.
Yeah. We'll do one.
Okay. Oh man, I got a couple good ones too, but okay. It Follows.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So you've got this sex disease. Okay.
Yeah.
You got this, the crazy being running after you, everywhere you go, trying to kill you and taking, shape shifting, ultimately. And now, okay. Now, would you just bang as many chicks as you could to try to get rid of this? And if so, like what kind of chicks? Like would you be like the Dexter? Yeah, I don't know if you're familiar with Dexter.
I think I watched like one episode of Dexter in my life.
Okay, but do you know the premise?
I know the basic idea, right?
Like vigilante, Yeah. If somebody's on getting away with something, he's gonna appease his desire for blood and causing death and killing two birds with one stone, essentially, when he knows for a fact this person should be executed or whatever. So would you just find these rotten girls that, be this vigilante gigolo?
I would like to say no, a vigilante gigolo. I would like to say no, but dude, if I had some crazy monster coming after me and I'm afraid to even sleep, I'm afraid to close my eyes, I'm afraid anywhere I go, then I'm going to look outside and see Granny walking up on me, all creepy, you know,
naked
and
Granny.
death-like, naked Granny, pointing her gnarly finger in my direction, and I'd be like, "Dang, like, get out of here, dude." You know, it's kind of hard because I don't really know what I would do, but I know every survival instinct I have would kick in, down to the rotten core of everything that I hope I'm not. But at my most animal and brute instincts, I probably am.
It's horribly selfish, isn't it?
Yes.
Because you're like, well, I don't want to die, so here I'm gonna put like a dozen
let other
other
people
chicks in danger,
yeah,
and buy myself some time here.
And you know, we do this. A lot of people might be like, well, man, that's really selfish of you, and say the same mechanism is that play. When you watch the news and you see a house on fire, there's a reason the news wants to see the video of the house on fire and not a picture, is because number one, it's active annihilation, but number two, it assures the viewer that it wasn't their home, and it's sad. Oh, what a bummer, man, poor sucker, like, you know, kind of thing. Now we don't actively think that, like, we're not watching that going, man, what a bummer for that guy, but we are really feeling that. And that's in a situation where you're at peace watching the TV. You're watching, you know, Channel 8 News or whatever. But if you're in a situation where you got spooky ghost monster coming after you because you boned some chick, that same drive of being fascinated, like I said earlier, man, I said, what's the phrase, man? Skin and tragedy always attract a crowd. David Bazan quote. But like skin and tragedy, and you go, you know, that same mechanism inside of us that quickens, that makes us, you know, turn and kind of stare at the accident where people are gnarled up and crap. Same thing would just go into overdrive, but this time be for us. And what would we be willing to do to stay alive? So on the one hand, I would like to think that I would reserve myself for only the most prestigious and mad hot sexy chicks, with, you know, really, really moral girls who like to just do it. I don't.
Either way, if I were to stoop that low,
but you know what I mean.
If I were to stoop that low and be that selfish, the least I could do is to give them the best sex they've ever had.
You know, and make sure that if, you know, and I hate throwing anyone under the bus, but I mean, make sure that you're going out with the real fugly ones if you're going to do that. You know, you don't want to rid the world of beauty. If you're gonna be an annihilator of persons, and that's just, you're stuck with that, then, you know, pick wisely. Don't start with the real good ones. Say, I'm really sorry to do this to you, but you've had a pretty hit life. you're already struggling.
In all honesty, I mean, we're joking about it, but when I think about it,
never.
I wouldn't spread that nastiness.
You would spread it, bro. Oh, you're lying. No, there is no knight in shining armor right now, Chad. You are wanting to
chivalry,
survive.
Man. Chivalry.
You're not.
I would want to survive.
Yeah,
but first of all, dude. First of all, dude, if I know what I'm doing, there ain't no way I'm going to be able to perform if I know the outcome of this. You know what I'm saying?
Really?
The process is not going to be a long game.
Oh, no. Oh, yeah. Oh, dude. It's 2 times. I'm telling you, but we don't have anybody winning the book yet, dude. We have nobody winning the book yet, man. So, no, but okay. This is what's kind of fun. It reminds me, like, here I am throwing myself on the sword saying, look, I would like to think that I'm, you know, a chivalrous guy, but there's an animal, real deep rooted survival instinct that is manifest in situations where everything is calm and at peace and secure. And if I was in a place where I was going to die, it would be hard not to have that overdrive go into action involuntarily. And I'd probably succumb to it and say that against my own. I mean, I'm throwing myself under a freaking bus. And then you're like, no. you're like, no, I'm good. I would die for the ladies. And I'm like, what? And it reminds me, dude, in high school, we got busted for smoking weed, me and my buddies, you know. The rumor had gone around. And I went to a small Christian school. So the principal, man, he calls me into the office and he's like, he's talking, there's 3 of us, man. And one dude I was probably the most blown out of all 3 because I was doing more drugs than just weed. The other guys had smoked a lot of weed. One still was. One had smoked a lot of weed and was the guy who got me to smoke the first time I ever did it. But we're sitting there and I'm listening. The first guy comes up and he's like, he tells the truth. He says, look, I used to smoke a lot of weed. I'm honest about it. And my dad, he's a pastor, and I talked to him, and now I'm doing praise band stuff, and I'm not doing that anymore. And then the next guy was like, no, I don't smoke weed. He's lying. He's like, I don't smoke weed. He's like, but I do smoke cigarettes. And it came to me and I'm like, I have never smoked cigarettes or weed in my whole life. Dude, I just straight up said it. The other two guys are like, what? Totally shocked by it. And I'm like, dude, I'm Mr. Chivalry guy. Of course, the principal didn't believe me. And in this situation, the principal here ain't believing you, Chad. You are not going down like that.
Dude, I don't know, man.
Maybe you would.
Saying that same thing happened. That same kind of thing happened. Our mutual friend Bill Kent.
Yeah, of course.
That we don't ever get to see or anything. But he, me, and a couple of other friends of mine were like downtown and skating and stuff. And there was a prom going on, and at the top of Stouffer's, which I don't know what it's called now, but the hotel thing.
Yeah.
And so we caused a ruckus. Went up there, caused a ruckus, and it took the elevator up and then like the stairs down, and we were being chased by security. There were security behind us, and then there's security running toward us, and they sandwiched us there and caught us. And now I've been through enough at this point in my life. I was like 19 or 20. I had been through enough talking with cops and being arrested and things like that and in trouble to know who's a threat and who's not. And security guards are not anybody that you need to be afraid of. So,
yeah, dude.
But
I've
Bill,
known a lot, and I agree with that. Yeah.
Mama's boy Bill, who had never been in any kind of trouble in his life, never done anything wrong with the exception of smoking like a chimney, smoking cigarettes, never having a drink, never, token, nothing. When the cops are asking, the rent-a-cops are asking us, our names and our addresses, and they're writing it down. I'm like, my name is John Hendrickson or whatever, and I live at, whatever address. And my friend Scott, same thing. And then Bill's like, my name is Bill Kent. I live in Southwest Capitol. He gave all his information, and we both started laughing so hard.
Yeah, man.
We made fun of him. But he had the chance. I mean, we paved the way for him.
Yeah.
But I think he was scared of getting caught, and he'd be
in trouble for lying.
Yeah, and maybe he got because one time we were out skating, and at this place that sometimes they'd let us skate there, sometimes they'd kick us out. And it was a parking lot of a shoe store that had this really nice embankment that would go up over.
Was it Rice's
parking? No, it was Payless on Columbia, right next to Hong Kong.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Well, Hong Kong has these parking ramps, and then it drops down with this embankment into Payless, and so you could launch off the embankment and clear the parking freaking thing.
The thing.
Yeah. Anyway,
yeah, we all know. Yeah, you're like, your brain is scrambling for it, dude. And it's like it's the thing. It's just it.
It's been a while since I skated. So. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So this cop shows up, and she goes. She asked us our names. We gave them. Gave them our addresses. Whatever. It wasn't no big deal. We weren't doing anything wrong. We were skateboarding. Skateboarding is not a crime, yo. Yeah. So, it gets to Scott Dix's turn. I don't know if you remember Scott.
Dude, didn't he have a younger brother?
Steve, yeah.
Yeah, I went to school with Steve.
Yeah. Well, Scott, he gave his name, said Scott Dix, and she's writing it down. And he goes, I live at blah, 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 Peck Street. And she looks up and goes, what's your real name? And what street do you really live on? And we laughed so hard because he gave everything, Dix and Peck. And we were laughing, laughing so hard because, she just didn't buy it at all.
Was it true? There is a Peck Street, isn't there?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I was going to say, I delivered pizza, I think, on Peck Street.
Yeah, it's a small dead-end road.
Yeah.
In Wattles Park. And he was telling her the truth, but packing dicks.
Dick.
Thought that we were, just messing around. She's like, seriously, give me your real last name and your real address.
Yeah.
And I looked at her name tag, and it said B. Walters, and I said, "Is your name Barbara Walters?" And she said, "Yeah." And I said, "And you don't believe that he's got dicks and lives on Peck Street?"
Yeah, your name is Barbara Walters.
Yeah, she's like,
exactly.
Touche.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Oh, that is hilarious, man.
So yeah, that's pretty much it, man.
Yeah, that's a good one, man. It's a good topic. But dudes, I'm glad we brought up the thing about the animals, though. Yeah. Mary did a good job. We got to do more about that. In fact, we need to figure out a way, even if it's just saying thank you for that introduction, Mary, or something, because dude, it's her voice at the beginning, man. Yeah, I know we've said it, but and we talk about her. You love your wife, man. And she's an awesome person. Like she was both of you, but really her, to be honest. Because I know how much art she does every day. Like I know. When I did a segment where I was talking about returning to art and giving it all you got and the way that you express yourself and stuff, she was one of the people in my mind. Like as I was thinking and as I was in that moment. So she's a really cool person and a really important person. And to have her voice every week, and I know sometimes we come really late. It's normally my fault too. I'll be like, I forgot to tell you I kind of need something. And then, but she does it, and every episode we've done has her voice at the beginning, every one. Yeah. And so today, and she covered my rear end, man, is what happened because I was tired. I didn't even know if I wanted to do tonight because I was so tired. And you were like, hey man, it'd be a good idea if we did, we could keep it shorter. And I'm like, well, I guess I can get a topic or whatever. Maybe you could. And she volunteered. And I just thought that was actually really cool to do too. And I'm glad we got to talk about that. And, anytime we do stuff like this, dude, I mean, there's other stories, dude, shoot them to me. Maybe I'll use one of them sometime, because that was really cool. And that's a different one too, man. Like people are like, these guys normally talk about malls and movies, and we've talked about colognes and like perfumes and stuff, but like the idea of, animal domestication. Yeah. We did talk before. We talked about self-defense. Like, what would you do if a burglar came in your house? I mean, that's an interesting one. That was a little bit, because we got into a little bit about ethics and what crime and, at any rate, dude, we need to be able sometime to mix them in. So I would love to be able to mix those topics in sometime and give, throw some bones over there at the wife, because she's amazing. She's absolutely amazing, supportive of you over the years, and very tolerant of me, and very, very helpful to the show. And so we really do. You don't only love her, dude. I love her too, man. She's an amazing human being, and it's just an honor to really know her, and that she's part of the show has been really, it's been really awesome. And so I just wanted to say that, man.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I will tell her, because she doesn't. I mean, sometimes she listens to the show, and usually not all of it.
She fast forwards to my parts.
Yeah.
Yeah. She does think I'm funny, though.
She didn't want to hear the same old stories from me. She's heard them all. Yeah, every once in a while, I'll surprise her with something.
These boys.
And also, I want to thank all our listeners, because I know, while we don't have a huge following, I know that there are regular listeners. I am super appreciative, and I hope that we'd love to hear from you if there's something that you'd like to see more of or less of or whatever, because we don't know. I mean, yeah, we like hanging out and talking and doing whatever we feel like doing, but we also like to know that, what parts people are liking most, so that we can appease the audience. So
yeah, where's their G spot? We want to know what satisfies your needs. We want to know just the speed you like.
To the right or the left?
The speed.
Faster or slower?
Oh man. Oh yeah, dude. So
Oh
yeah,
my
we love all the listeners, and yes, let us know. Because yeah, we're trying to make this a really good show.
Yeah, we were trying until you just shat all over it.
Do you want it to hurt, Chad? Oh man. So, but yeah, we appreciate everybody, and we're really glad that you guys have been along. And it's, and like Chad said, it's a small audience of people, but faithful, in fact, and just cool people in general. I mean, if you're listening to us, you obviously are awesome. I mean, you have impeccable style,
good taste.
impeccable, exactly, class, taste, all that stuff, obviously.
And one quick announcement. I never mentioned on here, but the wife and I have done these journal/notebook things that you can. They're 120-page blank pages, lined 6x9. Some of them have my artwork on them. Most of them have my wife's watercolor.
You gotta show them, man. Don't just say it, dude. We can edit
I only bought one. It's out in the other room, but
come on. Dude, look, we'll do that, man. You gotta go to it. It's a magic trick, okay? So Chad's gonna go. Here you go. Boing.
Okay. We only have one of these. This is one of them. It's my wife's rendition of, this is the front and back. It's a wraparound cover of The Bride of Frankenstein in this like stained glass style type of thing. This is our brand here, Candlewood Grove.
So awesome, bro.
If you want to find these, and they're not all horror, there's some really really cool ones. We've got ones with like flowers for like the ladies. We've got cool designs.
Yeah.
We've got ones with flowers with write that shit down for the mad angry ladies. And just stuff like that. So and cool like inspiring quotes with my wife's artwork and stuff. And then some of them are horror. We've got like I got Clockwork Orange artwork, Robert Smith from The Cure. I like two or three other Universal Monster ones in this type of thing. So, and they were only $7.99, 120 pages, notebook on Amazon, Candlewood Grove. You can go check it out. Some people we've sold quite a few of them, but they're nice. I'm impressed.
It's awesome, dude. I'm glad you showed it too. So for the podcast audience, they have to go and check out the YouTube. In fact, what I can do is when we upload this, we can just go ahead and put it in the link for the show and just put it right there. We can, in fact, you should start putting some of the stuff that we talk about. Like you mentioned your book, you promoted that, and so we can add that in the description both on YouTube and on the podcast wherever you're getting it from, because it all goes from one source. And so our Acast channel, and so we'll make sure to include that, hyperlink it, and that way, if you're interested, and we know you are, right? It's why you tune in and stuff, and so you can check out those books as well as all the different art.
And thanks again for listening. Until next week.
All right.